My name is Dr. Orion Hale, former chief researcher of Project Nova, once celebrated servant of the United Terran Authority, protected by the iron fist of the UTA Strategic Enforcement Command, or SEC. Now I speak only to the stained concrete walls of a prison in this new facility. Well, they don't interrupt, they don't lie, and they listen better than any living soul ever has. Well, Earth is dying. That is where everything begins. First, the ocean boiled under storms that split the sky open like a wound. Soil rotted until plants could barely grow, and radiation choked the lungs of newborns. Children came into the world with bones so fragile they shattered under their own weight. Their hearts were simply too weak to even last a single year, and mothers simply stopped naming their babies, They stopped hoping. Humanity was losing its right to exist. So the government built salvation in the sky, the Genesis Ark, a colossal research vessel orbiting the husk of Earth, the only advanced sanctuary for science. The UTA described it as a cradle for rebirth, but we all know it was just a coffin waiting to close. I lived on the Ark with hundreds of scientists, and with Anna, my orphaned niece. She was born with the same catastrophic cell condition consuming the new generation of humans. On Earth, she would have lasted weeks, but the sterile air of space kept her alive, barely. Her body was still frail, yet her voice was bright enough to fill the universe. Hope, however, is just another form of cruelty. The UTA ordered me to design Project Nova, a superhuman weapon engineered for strength, obedience, and loyalty. A living shield they could command like machine. They called it humanity's future, but we all knew it was a lie, so I rewrote the blueprint, wove in my own DNA, spliced it with Anna's. If I could perfect the human body, I could extract from it a cure for her decaying cells and save every dying child on the planet. And that was the secret that changed everything. Nova was born a miracle. He grew with unnatural speed. His abilities was beyond my measure. His strength was enough to bend steel like wet pepper, cognition that absorbed information in seconds, and healing powers that defied biology. Yet he was gentle, curious, and human. He spent hours at Anna's bedside listening to her, describing forests she never seen, and sound of the river, and fireflies glowing like tiny lanterns. She taught him kindness, taught him how to feel. But the UTA never truly cared for humanity. They only cared about control, so they panicked when they discovered a hidden fault deep beneath the Ark. The silent rows of failed prototypes, twisted bodies frozen in agony, evidence of atrocities they themselves had ordered, but sworn did not exist. Earth was collapsing into economic ruins, riots had torn cities apart, and they had declared emergency martial law. The UTA also needed a scapegoat to blame for it, so first, they decided to erase every witness on the Ark and kept only their prize, Nova and me. The soldiers stormed the Ark with rifles, and researchers were executed in cold, neat lines like a quotient being deleted. I was dragged into a separate corridor, forced towards Anna and Nova, ripped apart from each other. When soldiers reached them, Anna seized Nova's hand and dragged him towards the emergency pod. She told him, "Promise me, protect them. Give Earth another chance." Then she struck the launch control. The pod fired into black expanse, and a bullet struck her chest. I reached her in time only to hold her collapsing body. Blood started to soak into my coat, her eyes already losing focus. She looked at me, but she only looked through me. as if she could already see the field of green she dreamed of touching. And after that, they blasted the Ark. Fire swallowed laboratories along with the fallen researchers and the twisted prototypes in it. When the Ark ruptured into the void, it took with it the last hope we had created. Back on Earth, I was paraded as the architect of disaster. The UTA announced that my madness caused the catastrophe. They looked at me and they locked me in this cell, and they demanded me to finish perfecting Nova, their ultimate weapon. But guess what? Nova escaped. The ship that captured his pod bound him, tortured him, and tried to strip his mind clean. When they threatened to erase Anna's memory permanently, something inside him erupted. He unleashed raw, celestial energy that incinerated soldiers into dust and tore the hull of the cruisers apart. I had never seen such power. He even injured the Prime Minister himself, left half of his body glowing like molten glass. And finally, the UTA tasted their own medicine. They called Nova a monster, but they never understood the truth. Nova was never the hope for humanity. Anna was. Back on the Ark, I had secretly injected Nova's blood into her. Her failing cells contained the key to regeneration. Nova's body was only the vessel to grow the cure inside her, and just before she died, she could actually run from the SEC soldiers. Her previously frail body could run with strength she had never possessed. She was healing. She was proof that humanity could be saved, and she used her new and last strength to try to save her only friend, and then she was gone. The cure burned in the explosion with her small, fragile body. Anna's unique mutation was the final catalyst. Nova was just a vessel, but the cure crystallized in her cells alone, and without her, the formula is irretrievable. Now Nova stands between the Earth and the UTA tyranny, defending the weak, punishing the corrupt, a guardian forged in grief. He keeps the promise he made to her, and now I am utterly alone. Humanity was never doomed by disease. It was doomed by greed. We dug our own grave and called it progress. I have nothing left to give now. No cure, no redemption, only truth whispered to these walls. They think they can extract more from me, but they think I can rebuild Nova, but I am done. I'm finished. Yet somewhere beyond these prison walls, Nova still walks free. He carries Anna's dream inside him, the memory of the fireflies, the whisper of rivers, the vision of grass beneath the blue sky. And perhaps that memory is enough. Perhaps his imagination of the future itself is the final seed of survival. Well, this is my ending. For you, Anna. Good night, Nova. And may the future still remembers how to begin.